Foreman mocked mechanic's daughter for touching engine. Seconds later she did the impossible. The morning sun hadn't yet burned away the mist that clung to the gravel lot outside Bennett's Auto Repair, but the clang of tools and the hum of engines already filled the air. Among the grease-stained coveralls and steel-toed boots, 17-year-old Ellie James stood out like a daisy in concrete. Her sneakers were scuffed, her jeans patched at the knees, and her flannel shirt carried the lingering scent of engine oil, a perfume she'd worn proudly since she was old enough to hand her father a wrench. Ellie's father, Ray James, was a quiet, stoop-shouldered mechanic who had worked at Bennett's for over 2 decades. He wasn't fast, but he was precise, more artist than technician. When Ellie lost her mother at 10, the shop became her second home. She learned the rhythm of machines, the subtle whispers of failing pistons, the feel of an engine's heartbeat. Her father called it a gift. The others called it luck. But no one let her forget she was just the mechanic's daughter. Especially not Carl, the foreman. Carl was a broad-shouldered man with a voice that always seemed a few notches too loud. He never liked Ray, and he liked Ellie even less. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was the way Ellie noticed things he didn't. Like the rattle in the transmission that meant more than a loose bolt. Or the tremble in Carl's hands when things got complicated. One chilly Thursday morning, a sleek black Corvette rolled into the bay. Its engine stuttered like a man gasping for breath. The owner, a high-profile client from out of state, made it clear, he needed the car running by noon, no excuses. "This is delicate," Carl barked, rubbing his hands. "No one touches it but me." Ellie watched quietly, perched on a stool in the corner. Something about the engine's rhythm made her stomach twist. Carl cracked jokes, swore at the diagnostics, and grumbled when nothing worked. Time ticked. Noon loomed. "Still won't fire," one of the techs muttered. Carl cursed under his breath. Then he saw Ellie, just watching, lips pursed in thought. "You got something to say, princess," he sneered loud enough for everyone to hear. Ellie didn't flinch. "The fuel mixture's off. It's not the injectors, it's the air intake sensor. It's calibrated for a different model." The bay fell silent. Carl laughed, hard. "You touch one engine at trade school yet, or just read that on your little phone?" A few others chuckled nervously, trying not to take sides. But Ellie just walked over, calm and steady. She reached toward the hood. "I said don't touch it." Carl barked. But she already had. She removed the sensor with practiced fingers, examined it, then disappeared into the back where old parts were stored like forgotten memories. Seconds later, she returned with one from a dusty shelf. "This came off the '06 model," she said. "Same engine block, different sensor. This'll balance the mixture." Carl turned red. "You're gonna blow the damn thing up." But Ray stepped forward, silent until now, his voice steady. "Let her try." The owner, watching the whole scene unfold, nodded once. "She seems to know her stuff." With hesitant hands, Ellie installed the sensor, adjusted the calibration, and turned the key. The Corvette purred like a lion waking from sleep. A stunned silence followed. Then, murmurs. Applause. Carl stood stiff, humiliated. The owner shook Ellie's hand, calling her brilliant. Ray's eyes glistened with quiet pride. But what mattered most was not what happened that morning, it was what came after. In the weeks that followed, Ellie's story made its way through the community, from diner booths to high school hallways. A local news crew showed up. "Teen girl fixes what pros couldn't," the headline blared. Carl, still stinging, tried to dismiss it. "Beginner's luck," he muttered. But the world saw more. Colleges called. A scholarship came. And so did a letter, from a woman in Detroit who read about Ellie and wrote. "My daughter wants to be a mechanic now. She says if you can do it, so can she." But Ellie never let it get to her head. She kept coming to the shop after school, helping her dad, fixing what others missed. Then came the turning point. A storm had ripped through town one night, flooding streets and toppling trees. The next morning, a beat-up van rolled into the shop. Inside was a single mother with 2 kids in the back and eyes full of exhaustion. She needed to get to a job interview across town, but her radiator was shot and her wallet near empty. Carl shook his head. "We're not a charity." Ellie stepped forward. "We'll fix it." Carl scoffed. "And who's paying for that?" "I am," Ellie said, pulling out the scholarship check she hadn't yet deposited. Ray looked at her, stunned. "Ellie, that's your future." "She needs hers more right now," Ellie said. They worked through the morning, fixing the radiator, sealing the leaks, tuning the engine. By noon, the van rolled out, the kids waving from the back. A few days later, the mother returned, not with money, but with something more lasting, a letter, handwritten, tear-stained. "You didn't just fix my van. You restored my hope. I got the job. We have a place to stay now. My kids are safe." The letter made the rounds through the shop, and something changed. Carl started asking Ellie for her opinion, if only quietly. Other mechanics began letting her lead. Not because she was Ray's daughter, but because she'd earned it. By the time she graduated, Ellie wasn't just a mechanic, she was a symbol. Of grit. Of grace. Of giving when no one's watching. At the graduation ceremony, she gave a short speech. No script. Just her voice, soft but strong. "My dad once told me that engines are like people. Doesn't matter how old or broken. If someone's willing to listen, to learn, and to care, anything can run again. I think the world's like that too." The crowd rose to its feet. Even Carl, wiping his eye with the back of his hand. Years later, Ellie would open her own garage, a place where women could learn the trade without judgment, where kindness was part of the job, and no one got turned away for not having enough in their wallet. Above the door, carved into a sign made from the hood of that very Corvette, were the words. "The impossible. That's just step one." And for every girl told she wasn't strong enough, smart enough, or that engines weren't her place, Ellie's story waited, like a spark in the dark, ready to ignite. Because once, a foreman mocked a mechanic's daughter for touching an engine. Seconds later, she changed everything.